Hi, everyone. I'm Tamron Hall. The News Nation is following breaking news right now. The harsh back and forth over today's jobs report, showing the unemployment rate fell to 7.8%. That, by the way, the lowest level since President Obama took office. Some of the headlines today. USA Today's website read, newest conspiracy theory jobs report. Politico put it this way. Conservatives' jobs data are phony. When the New York Times website had up this one report, diverging perspectives. Here's conservative Joe Scarborough's take on Morning Joe.
I don't mean to sound like the executive in Big. I don't get it.
And a much stronger reaction from former GE CEO Jack Welch, who tweeted, unbelievable jobs numbers. These Chicago guys will do anything to debate, so change numbers. And from Florida, Tea Party Congressman Alan West, he put up, I agree with former GE CEO Jack Welch. Chicago-style politics is at work here. Well, Labor Secretary Hilda Solis responded on CNBC to the suggestions that the numbers were cooked.
I'm insulted when I hear that, because we have a very professional civil service organization where you have top economists that work at the BLS. They've been doing these calculations. These are our best trained and best skilled individuals that have been working in the BLS, and it's really ludicrous to hear that kind of statement.
So let me bring in our News Nation political panel today for us. CNBC Chief Washington Correspondent John Harwood, Newsweek columnist and CNBC contributor Zachary Karabell, also Jonathan Collegio, Communications Director for American Crossroads, the Republican Super PAC, co-founded by Karl Rove. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. John, I want to come to you first because I want to play what President Obama and Governor Mitt Romney said just a short time ago reacting to the jobs report. Let me play those first, both of them.
There were fewer new jobs created this month than last month. And the unemployment rate, as you noted, this year has come down very, very slowly, but it's come down nonetheless. The reason it's come down this year is primarily due to the fact that more and more people have just stopped looking for work.
Today's news certainly is not an excuse to try to talk down the economy to score a few political points. It's a reminder that this country has come too far to turn back now.
So, John Harwood, before we talk about this back and forth, I want to talk about the psychological impact of the rate falling below 8% today.
It's positive for Obama. It lets him say that the rate is where it was when I took office. But I don't think we should be under any illusions. 7 is a high unemployment rate. It's a weak economy. It is a talking point for the administration, and it'll get a lot of media attention, but it doesn't change the underlying economic reality facing Americans, which is not very good.
Right, and the Labor Department says employers added 114,000 jobs in September. The goal would have been around 155,000, right, John?
Exactly, and now there were upward revisions from the month of August, which is positive for the administration. And generally speaking, as one labor economist told my colleague at the New York Times, Shayla Dewan, we've got an economy right now that only has 3 speeds: slow, idle, reversed. We're in slow mode right now. We don't have anything faster than that, and this report reflects it.
All right, let me bring in Zachary Karabell. Obviously, you make an analysis of the numbers, 7.8, 114,000 jobs, not what was expected, but nevertheless, I want to get into how this has turned into the latest political distraction for some reason. Tony Fredo is a former spokesperson for George W. Bush. He tweeted out that the Bureau of Labor Statistics is not manipulating data. Evidence of such would be actually a scandal of enormous proportions and a loss of credibility. That's what he is saying, but we have very influential voices who are saying that the books are cooked, Zachary. Yeah. Is that even possible?
I mean, look, I suppose anything is possible, but the layers of security around these numbers, I mean, these numbers are released under lockdown. There's actual intense security around them, the way there is in a bank. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure someone could, but it would be of Watergate proportions. And for opponents of this, meaning for people who don't want the numbers to trend, I suppose, in a somewhat positive trend. I mean, John Harwood is right. This is not Hosanna, Hosanna. Who don't want the numbers to trend positive because it's a political liability for their party to make this kind of accusation is absolutely absurd. And it's a complete distraction from what we should be talking about, which is what does this report say and what our economy?
Jonathan, let me bring you in on that. I mean, John Harwood gave excellent perspective. These numbers are not a celebration. This is a continuing storyline. The economy is struggling to get on its feet. So why would you have Congressman Allen West and others say that the books are cooked when you could certainly just point to the fact of the economy and the recovery is going slowly? Why then put in this conspiracy somehow that the books were cooked? Because if the Obama administration could cook the books, certainly the Bush administration would have done so in those terrible years when the economy turned. If someone or an administration has that kind of power.
Yeah, I mean, I actually agree 100% with Mr. Harwood and with Tony Fratto, whose tweet that you quoted. You don't have to attack the integrity of the numbers to attack the substance of the numbers. And 114,000 new jobs is nothing to celebrate. I mean, it takes 150,000 new jobs every month just to absorb the new workers into the workforce. We have 3.4 million college graduates this year who are going to need to find jobs, and you need 150,000 jobs per month just to absorb them and the other people who are entering into the workforce. So it's really a matter of perspective. I mean, back in 2004, Barack Obama attacked President Bush for a jobs report where 300,000 jobs were created, 3 times today's jobs, and now we're celebrating this one today, and I think that that's unwise. I think what it shows is that the expectations are much lower. I think that we have a much lower bar to define success, and I don't think that that's good for anyone. I don't think that's good for the American economy or for any one of us.
Go ahead, John.
I just wanted to say, look, Jack Welch was a very successful businessman. On this subject, he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. And crazy talk like that is a symptom of the disease in our political media culture, a disease of disbelief and polarization where, every time a new poll comes out, whether it shows Romney up or Obama up, I get people on my Twitter feed saying, oh, I don't believe those numbers, they're made up. It's sad, and it's something that the entire political system is going to have to deal with.
Let me bring this in. It's not just the political media, because let me tell you, that tweet from Mr. Welch was retweeted not just by correspondents covering. These are people who are on Twitter, on Facebook, who somehow maybe are walking down the street and their neighbor says, did you hear what Jack Welch said? The numbers are cooked, and that contributes to the toxic level where people have no confidence in anything. Forget the polls, because again, you can talk about sampling and whatnot. This is the economy, and I have to take issue. Listen, it's 114,000 jobs. It's not the goal number, but let you be one of the 114,000 who didn't have a job last month, and now you've got a check to put in the bank and maybe more food to put on the table and pay a couple of bills out there. Those jobs count, John.
This is a long-term trend in our culture, Tamara, back from the 1960s, collapse of respect for authority. And we had the same accusations, by the way, when Bush was president about manipulating these data. And it's of a piece with the people who said, oh, well, the reason we went to war with Iraq was because Bush lied for ulterior motives. George W. Bush went to war in Iraq because he believed it was in the national security interest of the United States. And the fact that people want to sort of throw around this stuff is it's just not helpful to anybody.
And Zachary, you've maintained that this notion that we will see an unemployment rate as we saw in years past, far from this 7.8, that we'll never get back to that. With the workforce, the manufacturing issues, that when people, I guess, imagine this unemployment rate of, I don't know, what they're thinking, maybe 5%, that will never be again.
Well, I mean, never in the next 5 years or 7 years. I mean, who knows what's happening in a decade, and that depends on choices we make now. First of all, we should really salute John for that point about there is no credibility in Jack Welch making these arguments. We shouldn't be crediting them as having that. The other point is, the problem with these numbers, the reason why a lot of people don't like them, is that this is a round number for a 300 million person economy with a lot of regional variation. So nothing in this report today changes the fact that there's a lot of people who've been unemployed a long time. There are 8.6 million people part-time work, and they want full-time work. Nothing changes that. And again, if the unemployment rate were 8% today or 7.5, it wouldn't change that, because we do live in an economy where there's a segment of the population doing really well, a lot of people doing just fine, and a lot of people doing badly, and no one round number is going to capture
Jonathan Collegio, I'm going to get you in, but I've got one more follow-up for Zachary here. If this number, the 7.8, doesn't matter, then why were economists, and some of them, predicting that it was going up, that we would have seen a number that ticked up today and not down?
Now you have this whole industry of economists who game and try to predict what this number is going to be, because it's like a cottage industry. It has its own logic. And I think, we're much better off talking about the plight of people without college education. We're much better off talking about regional issues where Florida Florida and the Southwest still have very high unemployment, even with this number. You know, whereas Nebraska doesn't have high unemployment. And so you have this whole industry now that predicts these numbers. But the fact is, these are very hard numbers to predict, and people are almost always wrong.
Absolutely. Jonathan Collegio, let me bring you in. House Speaker John